Sony's Venom is a continuation of my 2018 to 2019 catch-up schedule, with just a few more videos left before I can actually start getting into my personal choices for some of the stuff that I want to cover on the random days that releases aren't coming out. But anyway, this movie is the second time that the popular anti-hero slash villain and regular opponent of Spider-Man has appeared on the silver screen. The first time, obviously, was during Spider-Man 3, and he and his host, reporter Eddie Brock, who was played by Topher Grace at the time, were, it was embarrassing for everyone, not just for Topher Grace himself. Now, both roles for this have been taken up by Tom Hardy, and in this iteration, there's no Spider-Man involved in his origin story, which is a little weird, but okay, let's go with it. And again, it's strange mainly because the main connection between Venom and Brock has always been their mutual hatred for Peter Parker and Spider-Man. But anyway, I'm rambling. The basic premise of Venom is that a large organization has brought down an alien race known as symbiotes, or I'm trying to remember how they said it in the trailer. It was something really stupid. And one of these symbiotes attaches itself to Brock while he's living in San Francisco, and he's just trying to find a way to expose this large corporation of corrupt business dealings. He's been trying to do it for a while. Now, before we start, real quick disclaimer. For those of the uninitiated, those who've never seen any of my videos, the way that I break down my thoughts is that I break everything into a pro and con list. Pro being everything that I enjoyed about it, and then the cons being things that were either lacking in quality or were just straight up bad. And I try to keep these sections separate, but sometimes I'll use one or the other to transition into another. I don't know how I worded that, but that did not sound right. Anyway, but yeah, that's the basic gist of it. There's your disclaimer. Let's go ahead and get into the review. Normally, I start with the pros, but I'm going to start with the cons on this one because it'll be easier for me. I didn't like this movie overall, and here are the reasons why. The first act is very mind-numbingly slow and draws out for way too long. Hell, it takes a while for Venom to actually show up, and all we get ahead of time is a shit ton of expositional dialogue that's supposed to get us to care about the characters and maybe understand their reasoning for things, but like it kind of works and kind of doesn't. But one of my pet peeves is usually a lot of exposition that's maybe not necessarily needed. The CGI throughout is at most decent, but since most of the fight sequences take place at night, I can barely tell what's really going on, and it just looks like a CGI mess of stuff just colliding with each other, and it just, whenever that happens, it takes me out of the film, just like it did recently when we were watching Captain Marvel. Despite one car chase sequence that was actually pretty fun and entertaining to watch, I didn't feel anything really for the other sequences, fight sequences, CGI sequences, whatever, in the film. They all felt too familiar, especially the end fight with the main antagonist. And I honestly think that the fight sequences were actually held back thanks to the PG-13 rating. I know there's a lot of people, there were a lot of people online when this came out, including one of my favorite YouTube critics, John Campia, who thought that the movie didn't necessarily need to be rated R, which, you're not wrong, no movie has to be rated R, but at the same time, this movie was missing something because it wasn't rated R, and I do kind of have to put that as a detriment, just like I did with Meg. Or sorry, The Meg, the movie The Meg. The villain, played by Riz Ahmed from Rogue One, is very one-dimensional. So one-dimensional that he only ever wears black in this movie. His attitude and dialogue showcase someone who's just trying to let the world know that he's evil. It's color symbolism... Sorry, not done right. And actually, there were some later parts in the movie where he starts wearing more casual clothes. You know, they're still black, but, you know, he's wearing like a white shirt under there, and me and my wife started like making fun of it. It actually made the film more enjoyable for us, because we would joke about how he's getting more and more pure, because as each scene went on that he saw them, like he'd be wearing a casual black jacket and a basic white t-shirt under. Each time we saw him after that, it would just open slowly. Not during the scene, but you get what I mean. Each one, it would open up a little bit, and we'd joke about how he's getting purer and purer while the film is going on. But back on topic about him, his character is supposed to be this scientist/explorer CEO who just wants to discover something good, new for the good of humanity, but he's a very cold person and kills homeless people on a regular basis. So the filmmakers did very little to sell the more people person aspect of him, you know, except for a few bits of expositional dialogue where they basically say he's awesome, and then he walks off and kills another homeless person. Many of the characters, though, not just the villain, are underutilized and given little to do, as well as, you know, less character, actually, or no character at all. Like, particularly Anne Whaling, who is Tom Hardy's, or not Tom Hardy, sorry, Eddie Brock's, girlfriend in the movie, and she's played by Michelle Williams. Now, I love Michelle Williams in pretty much every role that she's in. Hell, I loved her in I Feel Pretty last year, that Amy Schumer movie, which was a bad movie, but you know, I had fun watching her because her character was so goofy and weird, and I loved it. But because of how little they used her character in this movie, I couldn't really get into her, and the only thing that I knew about the character was from my knowledge of her comic book counterpart, which wasn't much. Now, with anything having to do with the script, which actually does tie a little bit into the last con, the script is a jumbled mess. Many characters would have just been better off if they were given better things to say, and not only that, sometimes you really can't tell what this film wants to be. Sometimes there's the horror angle, and then one moment it's a straight-up comedy, and maybe that could be good any other time, but it doesn't work with this script. The total inconsistencies were a little too much for me. And it came across as though they didn't really know what they wanted this movie to be, or really what they were doing with it in the first place. With all of that being said, I do have 2 pros, which actually makes me really sad that it's only 2. But the back and forth between Venom and Brock are really what shine throughout the film. It was entertaining to see Brock try to interact with others and try to come across as normal while there's a voice inside of his head screaming at him. And this was the aspect that I wish was in there more, and that I want to see more in the future, especially since it was already obvious after like the second weekend that we were going to get a sequel to this movie anyway. And also, Tom Hardy does a good job with his performance, though not his best role, and that mostly comes back to how jumbled up the movie script was. Overall, the portrayal of Venom and Brock in this movie is honestly handled so much better compared to Spider-Man 3. And honestly, I would even suggest that Spider-Man 3 is a better movie than Venom, despite its many failings in any department, really. But really, as I said, I do not like this film. But, you know, hopefully since they already made their money worldwide, it almost made $1 billion worldwide, hopefully, and this is my hope, I'm hoping that in the future with the sequel that's going to have Carnage, I'm hoping that they actually make it rated R, because I feel like it's not going to work as well, just like it didn't work as well at making this movie PG-13. And I already know that they've said that they want to do a PG-13 Venom and Carnage movie. I'm hoping they change their mind, because that would honestly make me feel better, and it would make me more excited for the next movie. And those are my feelings on Venom. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to hit that like button. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with everything that's going on the channel. And also, don't forget to go down in the comment section and just, I swear, I talk so much in this office. I have an issue, like, where I'm trying to talk and I just feel it coming up and I need to cough. Ugh. God, I need to exercise my vocal cords more. But anyway, don't forget to keep the conversation going in the comment section down below. I really love seeing what you guys think about the movies and the topics that I talk about on this channel. Now all that's left to say is farewell until the next video, all you casual movie goers and all you movie fans, and keep on being awesome.